Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Whew. So I apologize for that extended break, but we have a lot of updates. We have a lot that is going on currently. All of the round of 16 has concluded, and we have our quarterfinal matches upon us. They are ready to begin. We have 4 English casters, we have 4 matches starting at once, and we have 1 for every single series. And we have our own ready before us. And spawning in the top left hand corner. Oh, I should fix that. Bam, there we go. In the top left hand corner, we have potentially a little bit of wait and see, or potentially the wrong map as well. We have in the top left hand corner of Babylon going for a 15 hatch opener, representing Mystery Gaming. It is RagnaroK. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner, we have the South Korean Protoss player representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. Here we go. Classic versus RagnaroK. A spicy ZVP is before us. And RagnaroK with that 15 hatch does mean he's able to get his hatchery on location without being disturbed. This probe did appear here to throw down a pylon, but it was a little bit too late. And RagnaroK is able to get into his 15-15. So we've been seeing a lot of this, we saw a lot of this earlier today in RagnaroK's ZvZ, and here in ZVP it has a bit of a different purpose here. You can delay your gases a little bit longer without too much issue in this matchup, and go for a faster third base and rely on queens to defend. The downside, of course, is you lack map control, but RagnaroK isn't too late with his own gas geyser. I should point that out. There are some Zerg players that will delay this even further, but RagnaroK does go for it here after, of course, his hatchery, after his spawning pool. So he will have link speed eventually, but it'll still be a ways off. Again, RagnaroK will have a more secure defense early on. The downside is that RagnaroK's drone count is lower than it normally is because he went for an earlier hatchery and an earlier spawning pool like this, but he has a more safe and secure base location, and with this he can rotate his queens easier to defend against oracles. He can wall off the ramp here as well to defend against Glaive Adepts. He's just a more solid setup from our red Zerg player. Back at home, Classic is going to be going for a Stargate opener, as to be expected. I mean, Classic is a very aggressive player, and I miss Classic actually. I haven't casted him in 4 days. it's been too long. Been too long without my Classic, papi. I say 2 days. It's been a week. We didn't get to cast Classic in ESL Asia or Americas this week. He was absent. We casted mainly Zergs and Terrans. Mainly Dark against Beyond and Cure, basically. Just all throughout the week. So I've been missing my Protosses, so I do appreciate the Classic is here for KSL. And he's a very aggressive Protoss player, very similar to Hero in that respect. When I say aggressive, I don't mean cheesy, just very in your face, very micro-oriented, very oppressive type of Protoss. And he's going to be going for a Void Ray first. Oh boy. Void Ray first opener here from Classic is going to be cleaning up these Overlord, is going to be denying scouting, and from here he can go in a couple of different directions. He could go into an Oracle, into standard play, into a third base, or he can hide his tech. That is the advantage of this Void Ray, is you keep your opponent in the dark. RagnaroK, he goes in for a scout. He does confirm that there is an Oracle coming out next, so RagnaroK has the peace of mind to know that there is still an Oracle on the way and that we're not rushing into a Twilight Council. That is something that Classic has done before, and it's something to bear in mind, is that Classic, he has gone for these Void Ray openers into fast Glaive Adepts. Isn't what he's doing this game, but I'm sure it's in the back of RagnaroK's mind, which is why that follow-up scout was very important. Lings move out, they get eyes on the third base timing as well as the Oracle. So RagnaroK should be feeling pretty safe. His queens, of course, are getting in position. We have a Spore done in the main. We have a Spore done in the natural. Oh my god. As we are taking up further, not a Twilight Council. Classic is going for a Carrier Rush. So we've been talking about this during Masters Coliseum. And I brought up players like Classic, players like Hero. This Carrier Rush build was really popular back in the day, back in like 2020 in the Void Ray meta. Of course, you would typically go Void Ray first into Carriers, and that's a variation that we're seeing nowadays as well from Classic. Very old school, but it has been popular again. It has been rising in popularity. We've been seeing Classic, Hero, Creator even. I think we even saw not Showtime. No, yeah, we even saw Showtime do this. Yeah, rushing into Carriers. Everyone has been mixing it into their series, into their matchups. It's yeah, becoming meta again. I wouldn't say this is like common or like this is becoming like the new standard, but at least once in the series nowadays we're seeing Carrier rushes. They're becoming more common than they used to be. Oh. So yeah, Classic is gonna try to keep this hidden here from RagnaroK for as long as he can. RagnaroK again going in for a scout, doesn't see anything, sees pylons, a Void Ray, and Adept. RagnaroK still hasn't really gotten a grasp of what's going on. Is going to be going for a very fast Spire though, so I mean, his scout did show the lack of Adepts. That's something that he has seen. The lack of units is a tell in and of itself. Ling comes in, ooh, and it may have caught a glimpse of that Carrier. Another Link scout is going to be denied, but we have another Queen in production. Yeah, the Queens are being brought forward. It looks like RagnaroK is aware of what is going on, as the Carrier has now been revealed here in the center of the map. Has been shown to that Ling, and RagnaroK is going to be rotating around. There we go. Immediately, more Queens are in production. Are they going to come out in time? They should. These Carriers shouldn't go uncontested. Queen's going to be rotating over into the main. The advantage here is that Classic, he can pressure the main and then go back towards that this fourth base. You can go back and forth. Is going to be focusing on that Spore. Can he transfuse? Oh, transfuse will not arrive in time. Oh god, will barely arrive in time, barely keeping the Spore alive. Ooh, clutch transfuses from RagnaroK. Meanwhile, we do go into the main base instead. The Queen of the main is going to be going down. Spores need to rotate over. And RagnaroK is going to clean this up at the same time. Goes for a big Roach Link counterattack. Gets a couple of probes. 6 workers do go down. So not too bad. RagnaroK doing a lot of damage across the map. Does snipe the Oracle. Is having a hard time keeping up with the Carriers. Again, they can just go back and forth between the main and the fourth. Ooh, and now we have a third and a fourth Carrier arriving as well. RagnaroK, his Queen's going to be focused down one after the other. We're running out of transfuse, but the Corruptors arrive. The Corruptors arrive just in time. Ooh, sniping one of those Carriers. And RagnaroK will hold. Looking at the units lost tab, he lost 4 Queens in total. He also lost a couple of Lings and Roaches across the map. We can see RagnaroK being a little bit aggressive here, a little bit overextending a bit. Does get a second Carrier for 5 Corruptors. I would say that's worth it. Again, you really need to slow down the Carrier count before it gets out of control. Now, what's important is that Classic is transitioning out of Skytoss. He got up into 4 Carriers, but now he's working on Storm, +1, Blink, and Gateway Explosion. He is not producing he isn't producing any more Carriers. We're done with the Skytoss. We're transitioning into Ground Toss. And again, this is the new variation of the Carrier Rush, is because we also saw this during Masters Coliseum. You go into initially Carriers, yes, and then you hard switch into Ground Toss, hoping for an overreaction. We can see though that RagnaroK is aware of this possibility. He did make Corruptors, don't get me wrong, but he's also building up a Roach, Ravager, Ling army. Upon seeing all the Stalkers earlier, RagnaroK, he's aware that we're not committing to Carrier production. He is maxing out drone up to 81, the ideal or an ideal worker count at this point. And he's got a lot of momentum going his way. Here we go. Storms have arrived. Decent storms on the lanes, but there's just so much Roach Ravager behind this. The Corruptors are coming in from behind. They are getting on top of the Carriers. Bile's connecting as well. Every single Carrier will fall. The Corruptors, they have served their purpose. And the ground army of RagnaroK, they take down a mineral line, they take down 14 probes. We are running out of roaches. He's got to be careful here not to lose too much, as Classic is getting on top of the Ravagers. Yeah, RagnaroK did overextend a little bit here. Is going to be losing every single one of these Ravagers, but here come the reinforcements, and RagnaroK may just have too much anyway. At the same time, Corruptors, they get into the main, they focus down the main base. And Classic holds, but he lost so much in the process. He lost his carriers, he lost his High Templar, 14 probes, and a Nexus. And RagnaroK, because he has 80 workers, he can rebuild, he can remax, and get ready for the second wave. Classic, he's trying to hold on. He needs to build up some site defense, cannons, shield batteries, overcharge. That's all going to be necessary. And none of that is ready. None of that is done here for the second army. High Templar, they need more time. They need time to gather up energy for the storms. But RagnaroK has arrived. He's coming in from behind as well, going for another snipe on another Nexus. Shield battery falls. It looks like we do have storms. Classic, it did buy enough time. Storms are doing a great job at zoning away the Roach Ravager. Meanwhile, the Corruptors, they focus on the Templar Archives. No more Archons, no more High Templar. Classic, once again, is holding. But he did lose his tech structure. Yeah, we have reinforcements trickling on in. RagnaroK has enough to break his opponents here and now. Once again, he was able to reset the High Templar count, the shield batteries. Classic is mining. He has his space fully operational. Again, it's been really impressive that Classic has been able to hold on as well as he has. Any lesser Protoss player would have died by this point. But RagnaroK isn't slowing down. He isn't stopping. He had such a good response and a good reaction to the initial carriers. They didn't get enough damage done. RagnaroK just so aggressive. You're so in Classic's face. Once again, the shield battery will fall. GG gets called, and RagnaroK will take game number 1. Oh, GG. Having a really strong response, a really powerful response to the initial carriers. Again, it was really important that RagnaroK was very active with his lings, and he saw the carriers ahead of time. That let him know to reposition his spores, to build more queens, and get a spire when he did. Oh. And almost went into the wrong lobby. My mistake. But yes, did get that spire when he did, and as a result, he shut down the initial carriers, killed 2 of them almost immediately. And he wasn't bamboozled, right? When he moved out across the map with his Corruptors, he did notice that there were a bunch of Stalkers on the ground, that his opponent was transitioning into a ground toss army instead. So RagnaroK was very quick to respond to that with his own ground Zerg army as well. Very well done, and here we go. We're getting into our next game, and spawning in the top left-hand corner of Dragon Scales, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Mystery Gaming. It is RagnaroK. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss player representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. I appreciate that Classic was mixing things up and going for something cheeky like a carrier rush in game 2, but I expect to see something a little bit more standard, a little bit more, you know, hero-esque here in game number 2. You know, Stargate opener into Twilight Council into Blink +1, that kind of stuff. We'll see, we'll see. Meanwhile, across the map, we do see RagnaroK going for, once again, that was a 15 hatch opener from RagnaroK, should be a 15 into a 15 spawning pool. Oh. So, yeah, once again, able to get his natural base on time, on location. Never mind. Okay, so it was a 15 hatchery, but he went into a much faster Overlord from there, and he's going for a gas follow-up. So, an interesting variation from RagnaroK. with this, he doesn't want delayed gas. He still wants a map presence early on with link speed. Interesting choice here from RagnaroK. And we'll see how Classic will switch things up and how he'll mix things up. I do expect Classic to do something different here. That's kind of one of the good things here about Protoss in this matchup is that you do have a lot of builds available to you, and typically you don't want to go for the same build 2 games in a row. You want to keep the Zerg player guessing, keep them reacting, keep them on their toes. So even if we have a Stargate opener, it could be into a Twilight Council. It should be into a Twilight Council. As the pylon is thrown down in a more forward location, and this should be for that Stargate. Because of this positioning, it means that the Oracle takes a little bit less time to get across the map, and every second counts in StarCraft. It's a very high octane game. Like, it's a very punishing game, very high paced. And a couple of seconds could be the difference between a Spore finishing or a Queen being in position as well. So I imagine it's going to be an Oracle first, but we'll see. It is rally to the natural, so looks like it could be a Void Ray just to shut down the Overlord. Meanwhile, first Adept gets across the map, shading in, testing the waters. There it is. Void Ray is coming out. Is looking to hunt down as many of these Overlords as it can. And once again, it's going to be hiding the transition here and keeping RagnaroK a little bit more in the dark. Meanwhile, RagnaroK is making a wave of Lings. Interesting choice. This should be only enough to deny the third. Don't expect us to do more than that, as we do have a full wall off here at the natural. There we go, the Void Ray is coming out. Overlord is going to be hunted down. The Lings are being kept hidden here over on the left-hand side, waiting for the opportune moment to move out. As Classic is getting in position to expand, but the Lings arrive, and this Adept is going to get surrounded. Adept goes down. Natural base is going to be under threat. It shouldn't really be broken. There we go, as we are able to wall off. But the second Adept falls as well. Really nice pickoffs here from RagnaroK. With the death of those 2 Adepts, that means that this Oracle has to stay at home. Otherwise, this third base is going to be cancelled. Yes, so Classic, he can't be as active on the map with these units as he wants to be. And RagnaroK is free to drone. Spore's done in the main. Got a Spore in the natural. Queens are repositioning. Oh, he's still... Okay. So... again, I still stand by what I said earlier, that Classic shouldn't be doing the same build 2 games in a row. But he is. He is going into a Fleet Beacon, into a second Stargate. This is a carrier rush once again. If at first you don't succeed, try again, I guess. Bold move. Bold move by Classic. Obviously, there's logic behind this, right? This is probably the thing that RagnaroK expects the least, to be going up against carriers again. It's like, you really going to do it 2 games in a row after it failed the first time? Are you really going to do that to me? The answer is yes. So Classic has no fear. No fear whatsoever. The carriers are in production. The Void Rays are keeping his opponent in the dark. Lair is on the way. And RagnaroK needs to try to get a read on what's going on. If he gets across the map, and if he sees the lack of any ground units, that is going to be a bit of a tell. We do have 2 Adepts, though, getting in position. With the completion of this lair, he's going to have access to a Spire. But I believe this Spire is going to be later than normal, just because the lair is delayed. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit concerned. Looking at the units tab, we have 7 Queens. That is enough. Okay, we are going straight into a Spire, actually. Oh my god. RagnaroK. Reading this so well. I wonder if he's just really familiar with Classic. Lings are fanning out here. Not quite catching that carrier. Not yet. But I wonder if Classic is doing this more often than not. Because this isn't the first time that we've seen Classic go for a carrier rush. He's been doing it in the like past couple of weeks. But here we go. The carriers have been revealed. Queens are going to try to keep up. We don't have as many spores in position. Spores are just now on the way. And immediately the roaches and lings are going for a big counterattack. Shield batteries are not done. Uh-oh. It looks like RagnaroK is going to go for the 4th base first before going for the 3rd. Is going to be forcing a cancel, and here we go. We're looking for surround. Blink isn't done, by the way. So carriers do go into the main. RagnaroK, he doesn't go for the 3rd. Doesn't like what he sees. So far, really good reactions here. Not losing any of his workers. Queens do zone away these carriers, and corruptors are already in production. So there's a bit of a give and take. So this game, Classic sustains less losses. He doesn't lose as many workers back at home. He has a much more secure defense against the Ling Roach. But he doesn't get any damage across the map. Last game, he killed 4 queens and a spore crawler. This game, he doesn't kill any queens and doesn't kill any spore either. So I am a little bit concerned. Classic is faster to transition out of carriers though. This game he only made 2, last game he made 4. Bear that in mind. So he does have a much larger ground army instead. Stalkers are moving out. Classic working towards his big push. Roaches aren't ready yet. The Ravagers are still morphing in, and here we go. The Corruptors coming from behind. They dive on top of the carriers. Biles will be connecting as well. The carriers will fall instantly. And we have it up on the ground. Classic is being deflected. And these Corruptors are on a mission. They're looking to snipe another base just like last time. The Stalkers are getting a little bit out of control. Oof, a lot of Ravagers are on the way. We need Lings here to support. As the Corruptors do dive in. There is a lot of pressure on Classic to get damage done, but the Ravagers will finish just in time. With the completion of these Ravagers, we can bile for days. We can zone away the army. The main Nexus will fall. A great snipe here from RagnaroK. Great use of the Corruptors as well. Very, very quick to react. He's going to be rotating around, looking for another snipe, another base. And this is going to be forcing Classic to warp in back at home once again. Still have more Lings in production. Corruptors are going for the 4th. And that will drag the army back. That does create an opening here for the Ling Roach Ravager here of RagnaroK. He's going to be losing a lot of these Corruptors. But he will get the base. The Nexus will fall. The Ravagers are a little bit exposed. The boys are being pulled. RagnaroK may have overextended. He's going to lose his entire army. This is huge. Ooh, RagnaroK is going to lose everything, and back at home, what does he have at home to defend? Classic has momentum going his way. He's even sending workers across the map. RagnaroK may have to give up this base. He needs a little bit more time for those roaches. He's getting on top of the army. Queens are being brought to the front lines. Every single queen. Yeah, RagnaroK knows that he's in a bit of trouble, but all he has to do is defend. Classic is all in. He's warping in a wave of Zealots here on the front lines. Corruptors are looking for another base. Jesus. They're looking for another base. Ravagers just finished morphing in. And again, with these Ravagers, I believe RagnaroK should be able to hold on. And yeah, really powerful performance here. Classic going for the carrier rush every single game. Has been punished for it. We do see RagnaroK is going to be losing his Ravagers, but it's not enough. GG gets called. RagnaroK takes the series 2-0. GG. Reading Classic like a book. Preparing for those carriers beautifully both games and having a stronger response here in game number 2 as well. I just love that as soon as he kills the carriers as well, he is so quick to make use of those Corruptors and go across the map and snipe bases. And yeah, a really strong showing here from RagnaroK. GG, well played. We are getting ready for the semifinals, as both semis are about to begin at the same time.